There are a few well-known tricks in woodworking, such as using a deliberately blunt chisel as a scraper, using a slightly dulled chisel for hinge mortises to reduce tear out, the old cabinet maker's trick of burnishing end grain with the back of a chisel, and various tricks popularized by people like Paul Sellers and Rex Kruger. But the one I'm particularly thinking of is one nobody really knows who invented. Using a chisel sharpened to a square 90-degree edge so it acts as a scraper rather than a cutting tool is an old workshop technique. It appears to have been known by toolmakers and cabinet makers long before it became popular on YouTube. There is no documented inventor that historians attribute it to. I actually wrote about it extensively in the magazine on planemaking and demonstrated it on YouTube 8 years ago before my account was hacked. The person I learned it from, and most responsible for popularizing it among modern hand tool woodworkers, is probably Bill Carter. He demonstrated grinding a chisel square and using it as a scraper, particularly for planemaking and fine fitting work. Modern references to the blunt chisel technique often trace back to him. The idea itself is not unique to woodworking. Metalworkers have used scraping tools with blunt cutting angles for centuries to remove tiny amounts of material with great control. At first glance, it sounds ridiculous. Why would anyone intentionally ruin a perfectly good edge? The answer becomes obvious the first time you use one. A sharp chisel wants to dig. Even with careful control, it can suddenly follow the grain and remove more material than intended, which can be a costly mistake. A blunt chisel behaves differently. Because it cannot slice into the wood, it removes material slowly and predictably. Instead of taking shavings, it scrapes away fine dust and tiny fragments. You can work right up to a line with a level of control that is difficult to achieve with a sharp edge. This makes the technique especially useful for planemakers. Bill Carter used blunt chisels when fitting plane beds and mouths, where removing even a fraction too much material could ruin the geometry of the tool. The technique also works well for cleaning up difficult grain, removing small high spots and fitting parts that require absolute precision. If you want to try it yourself, take an old chisel that is no longer your favorite. Grind the bevel away until the edge is square to the back. There is no need to hone it. Hold it almost upright and push it forward like a scraper. You'll notice immediately that it behaves very differently from a normal chisel. If you're not sure what I mean, I'll leave some video links below. Bill demonstrates his quick method of blunting the edge and raising a burr, and Richard Maguire from the English Woodworker goes into considerable detail about it, though, in good jest, I'd say he does somewhat overcomplicate the sharpening side of things. Richard is one of the most knowledgeable and pleasingly pedantic woodworkers I watch, and I trust that what he tells you is accurate and properly researched. That matters more than it might seem. Far too many content creators have jumped on YouTube hoping to make money without giving much thought to the misinformation they spread, particularly around history. The claim that carrots were purple and genetically modified in the 16th century to become orange springs to mind.